If you're already using Higgsfield but your outputs still look average, the problem isn't the tool, it's that you're only using a fraction of it. There are 7 features that take you from average results to professional ones, and most people never touch them. I'm walking through all 7 so you can use Higgsfield the way the people getting the best results do. If you've ever needed the same character from 4 different angles, you know where the time goes, because getting the AI to actually understand camera angles is basically impossible. No matter how you describe it, you never get quite what you asked for. The first feature fixes that completely, and it's called Angles 2.0. It takes one strong image and gives you every angle of it without touching the character at all. I'll paste in a prompt to generate that base image in NanoBanana 2 at 4K. A woman in a charcoal techwear jacket on a rain-soaked rooftop facing the camera with the city behind her, so that when the camera moves around her later, it reveals the skyline. Then I open Angles on the app section and upload it. A 3D wireframe sphere appears around her, and I can grab the virtual camera and drag it wherever I want, around her, above her, even behind her, and the shot updates to that exact position. If I'd rather not place it by hand, one click generates the 12 best angles at once and lays them out as a contact sheet. Across every angle, her face, her jacket, and the city behind her stay identical, which is the part the manual method never gets right, and it's why professional work stays consistent shot to shot. The second app we're using is called Shots, working on the same image but doing something different. One click returns a 9-panel sheet, and unlike Angles, Shots changes the pose and the framing too, so the same character comes back in fresh poses. You pick the panel you want and hit upscale for a clean final. Angles locks the subject and only moves the camera, while Shots changes the angle in the pose, so it hands you a full coverage sheet you could build a whole sequence from. That's why this is a planning tool as much as an image one, useful for storyboarding a scene or re-angling a shot you already have. There's one trade-off, which is that prompting each angle by hand gives you more precise control over a single frame. But Angles and Shots hand you a whole spread at a fraction of the cost and time, wide enough that you'll almost always pull 1 or 2 keepers straight from the batch, and for planning and volume that wins every time. That's your character covered, and the products you put in your shots are about to get the same treatment, in a single click. That single click is the ads and products section, where one flat pack shot becomes the kind of ad that looks like a studio shot it. You upload a product and it builds the ad with no prompt writing at all. It needs one thing from you, a clean pack shot fully visible on a plain background, so I'll paste in a prompt to make one in NanoBanana 2, a cereal box called Nova Crunch on a light gray studio backdrop. I drop that box into the app and run the presets. Bullet Time renders the box mid-explosion in cinematic slow motion, and Giant Product scales it to skyscraper height over a city. There's also poster, macro scene, and graffiti, each one a completely different look, and every result comes from the same single photo and a single click. If you sell anything and need quick, high-quality visuals for social, this is one of the fastest ways to get them, and it costs almost nothing per image. That's the still ad done in seconds, and that same box becomes a full cinematic video in a moment. Inside Marketing Studio, there's a mode called Hypermotion, and it's the one that turns a product into a fully cinematic video, with CGI-grade visuals, 3D environments, and camera moves that feel directed. It runs on Seedance 2.0 the same way the raw video tab does. But instead of leaving you to reprompt it over and over with no structure, the studio handles the camera, the motion, and the cut for you. You start by saving your product as a reusable element in Marketing Studio, so I upload the base pack shot, add Nova Crunch with its name, and a short description. Then I select it, choose Hypermotion, and keep the prompt short because the mode fills in the camera and the physics on its own. I set it to 15 seconds at 1080p in a vertical 3x4 frame, and the prompt I'm using is of the box flying through a storm of chocolate clusters and a milk wave before it locks into a clean hero shot. The result is a finished cinematic product spot. With camera movement and editing, you never had to touch. And that's the whole appeal. You bring the idea and the studio handles the production. Hypermotion makes those calls for you. And what comes next is for when you want to make every one of them yourself. That's Cinema Studio 3.5, where every call Hypermotion made on its own becomes yours to make instead, which is the closest Higgsfield comes to actually directing a video. The video tab hands you a prompt and little else. This hands you a full layer on top of it, saved characters and products, genre, lighting, and even the camera style. For this I reused a frame of the rooftop woman from earlier, along with the Nova Crunch box, and tagged them both so the model holds them consistent across the whole video. Rather than cramming the look into the prompt, I set it with the controls, the action genre, an impossible camera movement, and practicals for the lighting. For the camera itself, I went with fine film and anamorphic on a 35mm lens with the aperture wide open at f1.4. Then comes the part that makes this feature what it is. I paste in the prompt as a timestamp sequence, laying out what happens from 0 to 2 seconds, 2 to 4, and on through the video, an auto multi-shot turns those timestamps into real cuts and camera moves on its own. I already have the woman and the product tagged in, then set it to 15 seconds at 1080p in 16:9. What you get back isn't one video, it's an edited multi-shot scene with the character and the product holding consistent from one cut to the next, which is the level real ads are made at. That's the reason this is the feature professionals reach for, because it gives you the actual edit, not just a prompt in a single take. Cinema Studio is as deep as the creation tools go, and what's left is about turning entire workflows into a single command. Supercomputer is Higgsfield's agent, the part where you describe what you want in plain language and it generates it for you. The depth is in the marketplace built into it, a library of installable skills where each one is a full workflow you run with a single / command. I'll show two that finish almost instantly. The first is storyboard generation, which takes a one-line concept and returns a fully annotated multi-panel storyboard, with the shot, the lens, and the camera written into every panel, so I'll paste in a single line about an astronaut whose tether snaps on a spacewalk, and it builds the entire board, real pre-production planning from one sentence. The second renders a clean infographic directly in the chat from a plain description, though that one stays in the chat and isn't exportable, so it's for reference rather than a final asset. The marketplace is stacked with these storyboard generation, infographics, a humanizer, scene generation, and dozens more. And on top of it, Supercomputer remembers your brand, your style, and your preferences across chats, so it picks up where you left off instead of starting over every time. Everything up to here has happened inside Higgsfield, and the last two features pull it out completely. The first one is the Higgsfield MCP, which runs the entire generation engine from inside a Claude conversation, so you never switch apps at all. Setup takes a minute. In Higgsfield, you open the MCP and CLI page and copy the connection, then in Claude you add it as a connector and authorize it once, and the Higgsfield tools appear right inside Claude. After that, everything happens by chatting, so I can ask it to generate a product shot of a matte black earbuds case on wet stone, then immediately tell it to animate that image into a 5-second C-Dance video, and it does both without me leaving the conversation. You get image generation with Soul or Nano Banana, video with C-Dance, Kling, or VO, all of that in one plain language window. This matters most if you already write or direct in Claude, because instead of having it write a prompt that you then carry over to Higgsfield in another tab, you write the prompt and generate the result in the same place. That keeps the whole process in one chat, and the same thing happens for your editing timeline in the last one. The last feature puts Higgsfield directly inside your editor, as an extension for Premiere Pro and After Effects, so you generate and edit on your timeline without exporting anything or switching programs. You download the plugin from the official page, install it, open it from the extensions menu in Premiere or After Effects, and sign into your account in the panel. Once it's there, you generate videos straight onto your timeline. I'll generate a video in the panel of coffee pouring into a glass mug in slow motion, set to a wide 16:9. Then I use the reframe option to take that same video from 16:9 to a vertical 9:16. And instead of a flat crop that cuts off half the shot, Higgsfield recomposes the frame, keeps the mug centered, and fills in the extended edges, so the vertical version still looks properly framed. Two quick things to know are that generating in the panel uses your Higgsfield credits, and reframe needs a selection of at least about 4 seconds. It's built for Premiere and After Effects, and it now works in DaVinci Resolve as well. Put all 7 of these together, and you go from guessing to directing. That's the difference between the people getting clean results and everyone else. The quickest way to see this for yourself is that first feature, full coverage of a character from a single image. Once you stop reprompting every angle by hand, everything you build after it gets faster and cheaper. So whenever you're ready, the link to Higgsfield is in the description, and you can run your first set of angles in the next couple of minutes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.